All right, cool. So welcome again. Um, I just want to go ahead and ask you a few questions, just about, the program, the offer letters, stuff like that. And yeah, so first off, just, introduce yourself and we can go from there.
Hey, so first off, my name is Pelumi Adenakinju. I'm a software engineer. Been a software engineer for about like 8, 9 years. And I've mostly been doing back end and I've been kind of like burnt out and wanted to do something that's a little bit easier to manage without having to like go through the hoops of like the interview rigmarole for software engineering. If you're not aware, we have to do like 3 rounds, 4 rounds of interviews, and it's kind of tiresome. Now, the reason I wanted to do this is so I can have something a lot manageable and I can specialize in. And I found it much easier to pivot to.
Okay. The workload too. Can you explain that, like the difference between software engineering and cloud engineering?
So when I was doing software, I was doing the entire life cycle. And with cloud engineering, I'm just doing like 1 to 2 parts. So I'm not doing that much coding, and the coding that I'm doing, it's calm. It seems kind of like repeated work. So it's like I would say it's a lot less. Like I've been at my this new job for about like 2 months, and we haven't even done that much. But for the work that is supposed to be projected, it seems just so. It's just like a breath of fresh air, honestly.
Okay. If you were to compare, let's say software engineering workload is like 10 out of 10, how would you compare that to cloud engineering?
Cloud, I would say maybe it's like a 5.5 to 6.
Okay. So like almost half the workload.
Yeah, almost half.
Okay. And then so how did it feel when you received your first like remote AWS cloud engineer for $130,000? Like what was going through your mind?
I was like, okay, this is this is it. Like I've been studying for this, and basically from the interview, it seemed just so lax and calm. And now I'm on the job. It's a slower environment, but there's still a lot of opportunity to grow, and I'm like really appreciative of that. It's just it's just calm.
Okay. And so like now that you're not, your workload was a lot less as a cloud engineer, even though you were making, good money as a software engineer, but now you have more free time. How did it feel to get your second offer letter for at 152,000?
It's felt like, all right, I'm really doing this because we always have imposter syndrome. It comes up in different times, even while we're working. And it seems that like, okay, these people believe in me because even though I'm missing one thing from like the JD, they believe, oh, okay, from what you said, you sound like a valuable asset, not only to us, but to the company. And I was like, okay, it does sound like that way too. And I feel that I have the capacity to do both because they intersect with each other. So as I'm learning one job, it's making me more prepared for another. So I'm only just adding more years of experience, kind of like Kagebusha no Jutsu. Like I'm here in 2 different places and I'm getting twice the experience, but I'm doing like much less work than what I was doing when I was doing software.
So you're working less and making pretty much double of what you were making as a software engineer.
Yeah, that'd be a way to say it. Because I mean, it's mostly base. Because I'm not worried about like stock and all that. I'm like base salary wise, I take home each month. Oh, it's double. Yeah, for sure.
So so in the software engineer, world, you would have to grind it out. You would have to like, try to, I'm not actually familiar with like the road to like earn more. But in terms of the work that you did as a cloud engineer to double your salary, as opposed to what you would have to do as a software engineer, can you talk about that a little bit? How does that look like?
Feel like for upward mobility in software, you should always be performing at the next level at your current level. And the easiest way to make more money is to jump ship to another company. If you're making a lot and you want to make more, the interview process is going to be a lot more rigorous. They have something called like data structure and algorithms, and it's about like 9 different topics that they can ask you about in a technical interview. You have like 30 to 45 minutes to solve this one problem that you hope that you studied out of maybe like 120. So you just have to be well versed all the time. And this may not be an exact one-to-one representation of what you're going to be doing on the job, but it is a quite stressful thing to do. If you're trying to study for it while still working, it could probably take you maybe like 3 to 5 months. And then at that time, if you're still trying to do well and get promoted, you kind of want more visibility. So it's like it's tugging on like how bad do you really want this? And then do you want to get promoted here or do you want to go somewhere else? And while you're going somewhere else, you have to go through the interview gauntlet of just problems after problems after problems and studying, and then interviewing here, interviewing there, and then just having these long days or weeks where you're just constantly interviewing and doing technical assessments. So the burnout is real just from interview exhaustion. I'm exhausted. And that's not even it. They have some parts of system design. If you really try to make that money, so not only do you have to do DSAs, data structure and algorithms, but you have to do systems design. So just more prep.
So comparing that to cloud engineering, like what is that? How how can you compare that to cloud engineering?
Data engineering is more specialized. So there's a lot of tools that are being used, but they you know kind of what to do. So if I wanted to like make a service more available, I'll know, okay, we can add more EC2s, we can add another region, we can do a couple of things because it's at the top level. And you could do that across different clouds, whether someone is Azure based or AWS or even Google Cloud. As long as you know how to do it, it translates. It's kind of like different coding languages, Python to JavaScript to TypeScript to whatever. But as long as you know how to do that, the slight like architecture and cloud engineering, you can do it and solve problems for many, many companies. And a lot of them are not really implementing this. So it's like you get to build out some of the foundations and it's kind of like things you've already been doing to prep. So it's
Mhm.
just kind of rinse and repeat.
How would you compare the difficulty of making more money in software engineering as opposed to cloud engineering?
Well, it's harder in software, honestly.
Try to give it like a rating from 1 to 10 from software engineering, the difficulty level, and then
Yup. Difficulty in software is probably like a 7.5 to 8 out of 10 versus cloud is probably like a 4 to 5.
okay. All right.
Yeah. If
Um,
for cloud, go
no,
ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I want to say, because if you want to like, it depends on which background you are in software. You could be front end, you could be back end, you could be Java focused, you could be Python focused, you could be full stack. So if you are already back end and now you're trying to do front end, you have to learn something new. Then you still have to study and solve those problems in that new language. Versus cloud, if you just want to get more um if you just want to get better suited in a different area, maybe that could be CI/CD. You could look at different tools. You could look at what people are using. If you're trying to get better at like automations or security, you could look at how things are being secure. That could be through the network security groups. That could be through role-based access. That could be through like key vaults because things are already in place in terms of cloud. You would just need to you just need to upskill in maybe 1 to 2 things. But in software, it's so broad. So you really need to make sure like, I think this is what I like and this is what I want to stick with. But if you're full stack, that's back end and front end. So you're thinking of a lot. The cloud, you're just saying, we need to get from here to here, and we have these 3 different routes. And you could pick the best one because since you've already prepared for it, you have an idea, but just based on what the company has.
Okay, okay. Cool, cool. So, what changes have you experienced in your life or career since receiving these two offer letters? How has your confidence grown, and how is this setting you up for your goal of earning $500,000 annually?
I feel that I can do these jobs I feel like I can do them in tandem because, like I said, I don't have work stress anymore. I feel like they're just building on top of each other. Not saying that this is easy, but it makes more sense to me. It's more focused because it's like, okay, we need to build this to go here. We need to automate this. We need to make sure this is secure. I'm very good in the space of like DevSecOps versus when software, I'm doing the whole thing. We're doing the feature planning, we're doing proof of concepts, we're doing backend, we're doing end-to-end tests, we're actually coding it. Now we're connecting this. Oh, is this compliant? All these things. So now think of software as the whole pie. Cloud engineering is just a nice little section. And this is a section that I feel kind of like not my zone of genius yet, but way definitely at my zone of competence. And it's only getting better since I'm getting more offers and just getting more exposure and being in cloud more often.
Okay. Nice, nice, nice. Um, how has having multiple six-figure offers change your perspective on what's possible for you in your career?
It lets me know that I can, like, demand more, like salary wise, or just pick up more work when recruiters reach out to me. Cause at a point where I was applying for many, 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 many jobs. And now I feel like, if I get to the point, like, if I get past like a screener call, I'm going to get the job because I feel like very well suited unless someone else is just much better than me. And it's possible because the job market is kind of crazy. But I know how to like talk to like recruiters and just find things even if it's out of my salary range and I can just build that rapport. And I feel like getting an interview is a lot easier for me because I've been trying to get this since like March, and now I got like two offer letters in the span of like 4 weeks. And I was like, okay, cool. Now I could really like turn that on, and I'm at the point where I'm still getting calls from like recruiters, and I'm just entertaining it to see what's there, just so I can keep that muscle like flexed.
Mhm.
And I just feel way more confident in terms of getting another cloud job or a cloud job in general.
Okay. So I actually, I was talking to someone, he was telling me like, and I know this too. He was like, yo, people coming out of college, they have a hard time getting a job as software engineers, surprisingly. And then also, there's some people that go through boot camps, and or programs, and they literally cannot land a job. What would you, what can you share in terms of what you've learned in this program that prepares you, for actually getting the offer letter, for getting recruiters calling you, reaching out to you? Like, what do you want to touch on that or share with that?
I would say it's all about immersion and really knowing the topics because a lot of people are pretty smart, but they just can't communicate the ideas. And it's no good if you know how to like make the company save a lot of money or just be way more operational if you can't communicate that to your team, the stakeholders, or anyone else. You're like an island. And teams really benefit when there's a lot of lateral information shared between members. So a knowledge transfer. And even if you don't have like work experience, but if you've done a lot of projects and you really know these tools and like you're passionate about it because it makes sense to you, and like my thing is making people's lives easier through a better user experience. I don't do no front end, but I make things make sense. They hit this button, they get these results, or they have this interface. And cloud lets me do that because we can remove a lot of manual work. We can automate things, make things just be a lot swifter and easier for the next engineer who's working on this or the company in general. And if you can like really talk about that through some of the projects that you do on your own or you follow along, then you would be in a lot better shape than a lot of other people because some people just coast and it's just we do this because it's like muscle memory, but they can't talk about it. But the sooner you're able to really express what each thing is doing and why it's important and why this company gives you the opportunity to work in that space and grow, then you should be good money. But if you are at that level where you could talk about it, you could talk to pretty much anyone, recruiters, or even other people on the team will be like, we may need someone like you. Like, we don't have a job or opening, but we can see how we can get something going. Because you need to get picked up. You're a hidden gem.
That how can you touch on the stuff that was taught in the program in terms of getting offer letters, getting recruiters even calling? 'Cause some people can't even get a phone call. Um, you don't have to say, the details, the gems, obviously, but in terms of how valuable do you think it was? You could say it was, you could say it wasn't mid in terms of, just the whole process of getting recruiters, knowing what to look for, and knowing what questions to ask them. So they can just the whole process of like the recruiter reaching out to you, first part to offer letter.
Well, thanks to the program, I thought I was pretty good where I was, but I started watching some of Kyle's actual interviews and seeing how he would talk with like zeal and how he would build rapport with like recruiters, even in the screeners or whatever, because he makes sure that like the interview is working on his behalf too. So he's leaving with like a connection, and now this person likes him on a human level, so that even if this doesn't work out, they're going to be looking out for him. He has a friend or an ally, and just seeing his body language and how he has the camera on in his interviews. Because some of mine, they have the camera off. I have my camera off. I was like, "Oh, I'm chilling," but just making your energy visible
The suit.
and just like allowing it to just permeate through the screen as you talk. That's something I wasn't really doing as much because I'm just AirPods in, da da da. There's infinite bliss in. But in the video, they see like, oh, you're for real. Even if you are having like my notes here that I'm talking, just how you present and talk with the recruiters and the actual interviewers is something that was beneficial to me because seeing him interact in different rounds, even when he didn't get the positions, I was like, that was a really good interview because I've seen some points where he didn't know uh, a question that was asked, but it still worked out in his favor because it showed that he had a growth mindset and just seeing the exposure of how he is in different interviews. Because I do a lot of interviews, but I don't really reflect on all of them. I ask for like feedback, but the interviewer or recruiter is not really um they're not required to tell you. But just seeing all of those interviews, yes, I watched all of them, and I just got to really see like the common things that I was like, this guy is really immersive and really passionate about this. So I was like, okay, let me find out why I really care about this and like turn my camera on and turn the charm on. And the instances when I did have my camera on, I felt like, wow, that was a really good interview.
Mhm. And I remember I was going to North Carolina for my company was flying me out for this one event, but ironically, I sat next to someone. He was like in security, high level, and he was hiring people. That was one of his jobs. I mean, one of his job duties. He was like, to be honest, like I'm looking for someone who's just cool and I can work with. Like I know we can train you on this stuff, but like, can I see myself working with you? I don't want to give myself a headache. And I was like, damn. So like just being personable and stuff like that is something that I kind of make sure I teach and have that connection and then try to find a common ground with your, whoever's interviewing you. Um, but last question. You came from a software engineer background, making decent money. I believe you were at Microsoft, correct?
Yeah.
And then, you know, it's funny because you saw, what I was doing on IG. You saw me like working multiple jobs, barely working, and you were just like, "Yo, like, how is that even possible?" Um, and now you're in a position where you had two offer letters, working two jobs, very doable. The hours is not, you're not even working as much as you were at your one job at Microsoft as a software engineer. Um, and you're at this good position, still scaling to $500,000 in due time. But the last question is, What's your message to someone who is scared to invest in themselves or doesn't believe they can achieve what you have?
What a great question. I would say a couple of things. I don't know if I can keep it short, but like the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is right now. If you're stressed right now and you just want to pivot towards something that's like a lower skill ceiling, a lower skill floor, but comparable pay, you should just do this because you're probably already using some of these things in your software job, especially since everything's in the cloud. And since you have a software background, getting things like the command line and going through some of the docs, you already do. So it's all about just pivoting towards something and niching down. Because I promise you, your work stress is going to go down and you're going to just do this so often that it's like you can talk about it very easily. I was able to go through this course in about, I think, in a scope about 2 months while I was still working. Granted, I had like an architect background because I took the certs, but I wasn't doing it professionally. So I say give yourself about 5 months, take this seriously, change your life with a skill that you're always going to be able to upskill because there's so many conferences that are happening and cloud is not going anywhere. And with AI, you can even do your job even better because it gets you with some of these commands kind of easily. Syntax is a little funky, but AI makes it easier. The workload is less, and you already have the tools. You just have to go through it. So if you're on the fence and you want something lighter but still good, I don't know what you're waiting for. I really wish I did this sooner. I needed this last year, but it's here now. So next year is about to be even better.
Yes, sir. Okay. What would you say to someone who's like, you know, let's say, let's like talk to your past self. Let's say you saw me, cloud engineer, making money. You're like, I don't want to pay. I want to just learn everything free on YouTube. Which is still possible with, in my opinion, a lot more time and a lot more work and a lot more figuring stuff out. And, anyways, what would you say to someone who's like, yeah, I can just learn this stuff on YouTube for free, or like, I just want to do this independently. Um, what would you say to someone like that as opposed to like joining the program?
I would say you could do most things for free, but I'm a personal trainer and I train other people. And there's a thing that I always say: every good coach has a coach because you can do a lot by yourself, but you're gonna get a lot further with a mentor and smooth guidance. And not only do you have guidance, you get community. It takes a village. And a lot of people are too Americanized and focused on being an individual. And I'm like, you could be an individual, but I'm telling you, the chain's only gonna be as good as the weakest link. And if your chain is one link, as soon as you're down and out, you're cooked.
Nope.
So I say get some mentorship, get some guidance because you get there a lot faster and a lot smoother. So I'm like, going by yourself, it's flying on spirit. You're gonna get there. Water's gonna cost an arm and a leg. Going with this, I'm not saying it's fly Emirates, but it's Delta. You get space, some leg room. It's a very comfortable journey.
Okay. One thing that I try to teach people to avoid something that happened to me, like I paid almost $100,000 because I wanted to do something for free. I didn't pay it out of my pocket, but I paid an opportunity cost because I could have been making this money a lot earlier, but I wanted to be cheap and learn something on free on YouTube to try to get into. I was trying to get into cybersecurity, six figures, but I ended up took me like 9 months, 8 months to get an interview, and I bombed it. And then like I still wasn't able to get like into cybersecurity, and it wasn't until I invested into a program to teach me the foundations of cloud. Went ahead above that independently, got some projects, cloud engineer. I got my first cloud job for 130, and so I was making 7,600, seeing 7,600 a month. But I could have been making that like I think like 11 months earlier, So like I didn't pay it out of my pocket, but I literally almost spent almost $100,000 because I wanted to do something for free. But it's not like a lot of people don't see it coming out of their pockets, so they don't feel that pain. But you could have had this amount of money in your pocket earlier if you like would have taken the action to invest a smaller portion a lot earlier. And so that's why anything I'm trying to do, how much is it? You got a step by step blueprint. What's the plan? I'm ready to invest. I don't care because I know that's the cheapest option for me. That's I can get that skill, never lose it, and also I'm making money faster. That's just my perspective though.
That's the thing I tell people as well. Like, peace of mind rarely goes on sale. So when it's there, buy it.
I like that.
You don't have to worry about anything else. It's all laid out. All you have to do is show up. Now, you could have been doing this on YouTube and stuff previously, but you haven't. So maybe some things changed and you want to do it by yourself. But I feel like, just get support, get community, and get a mentor. Because you think you're saving yourself money, but you're actually losing time and energy.
Mhm. The not even just the money, like you said, the time, energy, you're more stress, more figuring stuff out independently, as opposed
Mhm.
to someone just telling you, hey, nah, do it like this. Because they spend literally 2 to 3 hours troubleshooting this one thing where he can point you in the right direction. Or having a community to even incentivize you or motivate you to push harder. Like literally, I joined a community and that was the reason why I made $500,000 a year. Was because like
Mm.
I had someone and he was like, it was just competitive. It was like, yo, he's trying to make a mill. I was like, yo, like my goal is too short. I thought $500,000 was crazy. But he's like, yeah, I'm making a mill this year. I'm like, oh shit. Like I
Yeah,
was
that's true. Because not only is there the mentorship, but the community aspect. And now there's parts of my job where I can ask Tayo like, "Hey, bro, I got to do this and that. Like, are you familiar with this?" And he actually is because he's done this much longer. And it's like, okay, cool. Now I have other people to ask and reach out to. So I don't always have to talk to like my manager, and I can look good towards my upline. Because as long as I'm looking good, it means that I'm doing the job well. And now I have more support of people who know what I'm doing, or I could reach out to for like assistance instead of just being on an island. That's why I'm saying you don't want to be on an island.
Mhm. And just to give people more perspective, like you can do this independently. You can go on YouTube. You can do all that stuff. Like that is still an option, you know. But at the same time, just still understand what that is costing you, you know. So yeah, that's pretty much it, man. This was a good interview. I really appreciate your time. Do you have anything else you want to say? You can say no, or it's completely up to you.
I would say, yeah, if you're overworked and you don't have that great work life balance and you're just working a lot and you're already like a decent engineer, pivoting towards cloud is going to be a breath of fresh air. And I'm telling you, you're gonna wish you did this sooner.
Cool. Um, I appreciate your time, man. Take care.
It's a pleasure. All right now.